You ever just doing laundry one day and then suddenly notice that that video you posted 2 weeks ago that's been at 200 views is suddenly getting a lot more attention? And then the next day you check again to make sure it wasn't a dream and now you're at 100,000 views. What? Seriously though, thank you all so much for the attention on the Identifying Darkness video and your many corrections you also kindly offered me. I'm not going to make an entire video dedicated to correcting it, because that shit would be boring as sin to watch on its own, so I'll probably just stick the corrections at the start of the inevitable video where I rank the Chapter 5 Darkness. But now that I have an audience, I can talk about the stuff that actually matters. Like Bob's Burgers.
Show her the tampon straw.
Oh, you guys just want more Deltarune content? Oh, I get it. So just because I have a script and video and an editing software, I should keep doing this. Well, guess what? I wanted to do that anyway, so fine. I fucking love Birdley. When Chapter 2 came out and my favorite character immediately became Queen within 10 seconds of seeing her, I wasn't expecting that to change. And it didn't.
I'm an idiot.
Okay, I go back and forth, but Birdley puts up a damn good fight for being my favorite. He's got style, he's got great music, and he's so painfully unfunny that it wraps back around to being funny. I was amazed when they took this random puntable douche from Chapter 1 and turned him into, well, a not random puntable douche, now with a lot more depth behind his actions. He is such a flawed character, but in the best way possible. I've talked about this blue bastard so much that I think my friends are just starting to fear when I join their VCs, because there's a risk I'm just gonna start yapping about him again. But anyways, let me take you back to June 4th, and I'm anxiously awaiting the next chapters of Deltarune drop. Many minds around the globe must have been wandering with ideas and speculations about Mike and Chloe and a third thing. Like a smart individual would, I was thinking about Birdley. Okay, I wasn't. I knew it wouldn't make much sense for him to be in either of these new Dark Worlds, because one is in Chris's house at 2 in the morning, and if the other was going to be in the church, Birdley would probably just be an interruption to more serious scenes. But I did want to see him, at least for a scene or two. Birdley gets one name drop in Chapter 3 during the sword route, and he's in the library during Chapter 4 because he is still a dick. Okay, obviously that's not all. It's more clear than ever that this I'm above all of you mindset of his is just an act, to the point where he doesn't want Chris and Susie to leave him alone in the library. He also calls the well, and you can make Chris ask to go out with him, because Toby was a Birdley shipper all along apparently. This video is not about shipping. Trust me, I don't even want to touch that cesspool. This video is all about how I think that Toby is definitely not going with this fella. And you might think, yeah, duh, he's going to the festival and he's expecting a date, but I don't think that's all. Oh no. I think Birdley might just come to the next Dark World, and he is going to join our party.
I am going to kill myself.
The reason you think he should become a main team player again is for the simple fact that, in the state that he's in right now, I don't think one optional scene at the festival would help him. Or at least, it wouldn't be that satisfying compared to the chapter-long character arcs of the rest of the cast, including his. Remember, Birdley is sad because he wants companionship. If anything, I assume most of the struggles he's having right now come from having an adventure where he was the one who ended up finally doing something for the sake of his friends. And then he wakes up to realize that it was just a dream, and he's still this nobody bird that can't even fly. And maybe a date with Chris would help with that, sure. But, you know, it could be a lot better for him. Another adventure in that same fantasy world. One where he's actually on the side of good. And like, come on, why don't you send Birdley on a Dark World adventure once and never again? If it was for the sake of comic relief, newsflash, literally every character in Chapter 2 is comic relief. But Chapters 3 and 4 give us 2 full adventures with our OG trio. I think it's definitely time for a bit of a switch. More specifically, I think the majority of Chapter 5 to have a party of Chris, Birdley, and Noelle. In the regular run. In Snowgrave, that's a whole other story. And just how Noelle found comfort in just letting go and being normal around Susie, I think Birdley could have a similar, if a little more comedic version of that realization. Okay, but actually, Deltarune is serious now, so we can't have Birdley going around making gamer references? Well, Mr. Hypothetical Straw-Man Argument, he's already been toning down the jokes in his Chapter 4 scenes, and he's perfectly capable of locking in. See him selflessly standing up to Queen twice. Plus, if Chapter 5 is another serious romp, boom, Birdley can be the comic relief. I know some people would probably prefer a Chris, Susie, and Noelle party for Chapter 5, since Rousey is going to get mixed up with Flowers or whatever. But I think after 2 chapters of getting the closest look at Susie that we've ever seen, having her in the background, not seen as much until the ending, would make for a good fear-mongering build-up, wondering what she's thinking. Plus, I can imagine her trying to be a little more closed off to Noelle, if the last prophecy was related to her. She's at her lowest point right now, so I don't think having more emotional scenes to cheer her up would hit as hard unless they're at the very end of the chapter. Obviously, she'd still be a part of the adventure, but on her own path, with something maybe forcing the group to be be divided at the start of the Dark World. As for Rouse, I still think he'd be the major team player for a Flower King Dark World. You closed your eyes and thought about how Rouse was doing shit to see what he's up to. As much as I love Birdley, no, he is not getting top billing. I can really see him fitting as the example of the escapist on the Dark World Spring. Maybe he feels as if the Dark Worlds are the only way he could be helpful to people like Noelle, since Birdley kind of relies on her in his everyday life. Like, let's say there's a forest of thorns blocking the way. Birdley uses his his band bird, to cut them and clear the way, only for them to grow back near instantly. So Noelle's like, okay, Birdley, it's not working, you can stop now. But he doesn't stop. He keeps trying until Noelle just uses Ice Shock and freezes the thorns, which annoys him. And you'd initially assume that he just wanted to show up Noelle and inflate his hypothetical ego, but no, he just wanted to be of use to them. That's one thing I feel Chapter 3 excelled in. Character moments and how they portray them at that point in the story. Susie wanting Rouse to see himself as more than a servant comes up like 3 times in the chapter, but the resolution still feels earned because there's so many smaller moments backing up the theme, like Rouse feeling nice when playing as Chris. So surrounding these little bits of character could be a few bigger scenes to develop Birdley's arc. It wouldn't be the biggest thing in the world, just a smaller, more lighthearted thing to follow between heavier scenes. And regardless of what the Chapter 5 boss is, I think it'd be cool if Birdley got a hero moment in it. In both fights with Queen, he was either out of commission till the end or just playing support. And here, he can show his newfound confidence and belief in his friends by fighting with them. Bro, imagine if he drops a "get away from my friend" when Noelle is threatened. That'd be so fucking cool. And after that, Birdley could go back to being secondary. And I think at this point in the game, we're at the precipice of Climax Town. Birdley's arc concluding right as shit hits the fan is good. He can definitely still play a role in the endgame, but in the final chapter, get the fuck out of here, chicken nuggets. He can pull a Monster Kid in Undertale, where he stays behind to help the fun game get further. Actually, wait, just make it that scene with Deity from Kirby in the Forgotten Land. That would unironically be perfect. You know what? Fuck it, I'm editing that. Editing it right now, turning off Audacity, let's go. Also, and this one is absolutely not happening, do you remember that phase where everyone was like, oh, Rouse is gonna fight Sans in Chapter 5 and you'll get to use the Blue Soul mode again? And speaking realistically, yeah, that makes the most sense. But here's an idea. What if the fight with the Blue Soul was given to Birdley? Yes, I know this sounds really fucking stupid. Please, let me cook. Okay, so the different soul modes so far both had little twists to how they worked in Undertale. Justice can charge shot, and the arrows in kindness now come from 8 directions instead of 4. So, how is Integrity gonna switch it up? The most obvious answer to me is some kind of double jump or air dash. And tell me, dear viewer, who among our main cast feels the most natural being linked to an attack all about airborne mobility? But you may be wondering, Bird's not important. He's barely a main character in his own soaring chapter. Why should he get all this special treatment just because he went to a Dark World one time? Well, let me remind you of something. This probably has 1,000 holes, but it just popped into my head when running this script. Why was Birdley, the one responsible for allowing the Fun Gang to defeat Giga Queen, not mentioned anywhere in the prophecy? As silly as Birdley's antics can be sometimes, Chapter 2 would not have gone the same way if he wasn't there. He brought Noelle to the library to study. He was forced to help Queen at the risk of Noelle's life. He confronted Chris to get Noelle back in both routes. Yeah, he pretty much killed him in Snowgrave, but apart from Queen's Chariot never being seen by Chris, everything still happens as it's meant to. The Dark Fountain is still sealed. Tenna is still cleaved red by blades, and the Flower Man will presumably still be trapped in Asylum. The weird route is all about trying to find another ending, but the only thing you end up changing is putting Birdley out of commission. The only Lightner that's been in the Dark World, besides Toriel, that's not in the prophecy, Birdley, is irrelevant. And that's exactly why he's the only one who can have a different ending. Think about it. If he's not fated to do anything in this prophecy, then his fate is entirely up in the air. Hell, if you defeat Queen through fighting, Birdley's arm gets fucking fried, and it goes numb in the light world. Again, a change to only Birdley in this story where your choices apparently don't matter. Yes, I know pretty much every enemy in this game also follows this logic. You can either attack or recruit them, but the story still goes the same way. But Birdley is a lightning, probably the most important secondary character in the game. He is absolutely not meant to be here, and I could see that realization really hurting him. Him grappling with this idea. The fact that it's foretold by their god that half of his class is going to be these big heroes who save the world, and that he's not going to be one of them. God, that would just be gut-wrenching for him. Once again, he's just the class loser, his only hope for success being to lean on people he thinks matter more than him. But throughout this chapter, he could realize his worth and make his own place in this story. And maybe when Birdley finds Susie, her seeing that growth in Birdley, writing his own next chapter and really showing the love he has for his friends, that could be what gets her back on her feet, what gives her the motivation to do that herself, and becomes less closed off, not shielding her friends from the horrible fate of the final prophecy, but instead working together to stop it. And just before they seal the fountain, Birdley can ask them if this is all meant to play out in a certain way, then why is he here? None of them have the answer, except for Susie. She says that he can write his own path, just like a certain elder of the male variety told her, and he decides his path is with them, the Fun Gang. Uh-oh, and also Asgore is there, and the Seven Flowers. And the Cowboy Show. Look, Chapter 5 is covering a lot of different points. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this little Birdley adventure. I can't wait for all of this to age like milk and for him to have one 2-minute scene in the festival, and that's it. That's his spotlight for the rest of the game. And it'll be a good 2-minute scene. It'll just leave me wishing for a little bit more. I was going to talk about how Birdley can work in battle and what role he would play, but I kind of don't want this video to get any longer. But if you want to see something about gameplay mechanics and what I think would suit him, let me know below, and I hope you enjoy my ramblings.
This is the end of the mystery.
Animal crackers.